I'm David O'Sullivan. I'm a broadcaster. I've been a broadcaster for over 42 years. In the early 90s, I had covered the release of Nelson Mandela and the start of the constitutional negotiations, but I found that we were working as journalists in an environment where we were so restricted by a lot of pernicious legislation. I wanted to understand the law better and how to interpret the law. So at the time of the Bisho Massacre, it was September and it was the university holidays. I should have been studying for my final exams, but I was still freelancing as a journalist. The reason why the ANC was holding this protest march is they were demanding the overthrow of the Ciskei leader, a dictator called Opokozo. As we were walking towards the stadium and got separated from my colleagues, and then the marchers started advancing towards us, and it was very peaceful. It was quite a hot day, I remember, in September. But as I started walking towards them, I was walking down a slope, I walked past to the right of a group of soldiers lined up in trenches, and I counted maybe about 100 soldiers, all lying in battle position, staring down their R4 rifles. And I looked at those rifles and I thought, I know this rifle because I'd been a conscript in the SADF at a time where all white males were compelled to do 2 years national service. But importantly, I was familiar with how it sounded when a whole lot of them opened fire in one go because we'd been on the shooting range. It sounded like a crackling noise. I saw these guys and I could see they were as jittery as can be. So I was walking through this group and I started chatting to one of the guys on my left, and I started recording. As I was recording, I could hear that very distinctive sound of the crackling of gunfire coming from the Independence Stadium. And in a flash, I made the deduction that that noise was going to set off the soldiers right behind me. So in a split second, I hit the deck, and sure enough, these guys then opened fire and shot over me, but into the crowd that was surrounding me. Yeah, this is the beginning. So there's the police helicopter. That's the shooting across the way. Now they're shooting behind me. It totally distorts my microphone. It's so loud. The needle was right in the red. And now I was just pressed down. Then I pulled the microphone towards me.
The shooting is going on. There was no order to fire. People are scattering. A lot of people lying on the ground. I can't tell if anybody's hurt.
So this constant noise of bullets flying over my head kept me stuck in the ground. But I kept talking. It seemed unbelievable to me that people were being shot dead. I just saw people scattering. And I reported on that. I was commentating on all of this. And then I turned over to see the guy who I'd been talking to a few seconds earlier to see if he was all right. And to my horror, I could see that the back of his head had been taken off and there was blood pouring down towards me. And that was the first time I realized that live ammunition was being shot at us. And then slowly but surely people started standing up and the soldiers had pulled back and I was able then to stand up. I learned to process it, but it's amazing how that sound will always have this dramatic impact on me because it was so horrible. It's so important for us to bear witness to history because otherwise it gets lost. People forget what happened. What were the forces that shaped us? What were the incidents that made us take this path rather than that path? I was able to be at so many different historical events. You only realize that they were historical events a little bit later. But I'm of the age now when I look back and I find that the things that I was at and witnessed are in the history books. That is why journalism is one of the most fantastic of careers. If you choose your moments correctly, choose your opportunities, you seize your opportunities, you're going to be part of reporting on events that will become history.